I'm so tired.
Of these people making garbage decks. What is up? It's Northwest Magic. I'm Levi.
I'm Howie. And today we're going to be showing you guys how to build a deck. For people who don't know how to do that, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, for all you folks that are a little overwhelmed by what's going on, we have a template here, and a lot of our favorite cards that we want to kind of spice up our decks with, and what we just utilize a lot of the time.
Some of them are stapley, but I just want you guys to be better deck builders so that you can have better games, and your opponents will be like, "Wow, you're good at making a deck. Where'd you figure out how to do that?" And you direct them to this video. Anyway, make sure you check out our Patreon. Maybe become a patron. Maybe give us some money so that we can give you guys some better content. You know what I mean? Give us better lighting, better microphones. Check out our Elder Dragon Hot Wings videos, and that's our favorite thing ever is those two so far. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think about this template. And that's the whole video. We'll talk to you later. All right.
Let's get started.
You want to start with it?
Yes. So, the very first thing we're going to do is talk about lands.
You need lands to play the game.
You need lands. We typically add 34 to 38-ish lands going on in these decks. It depends on the style, but we have some ones that we just really like to include pretty much all the time, depending on the colors.
Yeah, no matter what, we're adding shock lands.
Unless
the 2-life is negligible.
You're a monocolored deck. You're putting shocks in.
Yeah, I mean if you're playing a monocolor deck, you can run 30 basics and then 5 flex lands, whatever. 5 what do you call those? Good lands. You know what I'm saying?
Utility lands, I think.
Utility
is what you're
lands.
Trying to say.
Yeah. I can remember what they were called.
Good lands.
Good. 5 more good lands, not just plains. So I also really love, and I think every Commander player loves, bond lands like a Rejuvenating Springs or Spectator Seating, things that come in untapped as long as you have 2 or more opponents, which is most of the time, unless you draw it after the other 2 opponents are knocked out. But still, that's being untapped in 95% of the game or more is just fantastic. I don't think I've ever played one of these and it came in tapped, ever. I feel like usually when people die, they die altogether.
That's a quote from you. Usually when people die, they die.
Whenever people die, they die together. You know what I'm saying? It's just not ever an issue. I also love slow lands like Dream Root Cascade, Rockfall Vale, Sundown Pass. I think that those are all slow lands from Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow, where they enter tapped unless you control 2 other lands. It's not bad to play a tapped land on turn 1 if you have no other play, no Soul Ring, no nothing. So that's fine. Or from turn 3 onward, they come in untapped almost all the time. So those are really great lands. I love them. I think you love them too. Highly recommend them. Put them in your decks.
Put them in your decks.
Pain lands, Yavimaya Coast, Shivan Reef.
I'm a big fan of these
Darkar Wastes. They're great. They're great cards.
They're so good.
Yeah, you can tap them for colorless if you need to. Tap them for the colors you need. In the same sort of vein, I like City of Brass. Whenever it becomes tapped, you lose a life. Or I don't know if it deals damage to you, whatever. But it's the same thing where it's super flexible, comes in untapped, hurts you a little bit, but life's a resource.
You have 40 of it. You're fine.
You'll be 40 of it, starting at least.
Channel
lands,
maybe not later.
Almost all of those. Boseiju indoors. Boseiju indoors. Otawara, Soaring City.
Takanuma,
yeah, that's the other one.
Sokanzen.
And Ijangu. Is that it? I don't know.
Django?
Those are the 5.
The white one I don't remember very much.
It's Seat of the Empire. I think it's Ijango or whatever. It'll be on the screen, but I would add all of those to all of your decks that can run those typically. Like at least Boseiju and Otawara. Those are absolutely
the best.
The two best ones. Otawara, you can't counter them most of the time being abilities instead of spells. And if you're running a landfall deck like I love, you can channel them down, do their ability, and then play them back with Crucible of Worlds or one of those other play from the graveyard style effects that we know and love. If you're running fetch lands, I recommend running a Triome if you're 3-color, maybe a couple if you're 4-color, and maybe like 2 or so if you're 5-color, because you're probably full up on bonds and shocks and fetches or whatever, and probably don't have much room in 5-color decks. But still, keep Triomes in mind, or whatever they're not called Triomes in from the new Capenna side. Zayatora's Proving Ground, Xander's Lounge sort of stuff, but those are great lands. Ketria Triome.
I was just calling them fetchable Triomes, because it is worth noting that I bet people will use the word Triome interchangeably, because there are Triomes that are not fetchable, like they don't have the basic land types on them, and then there's the ones from New Capenna that do.
Yeah.
Those ones are a little more expensive,
or whatever. They are a little more expensive. They also have Cycling 3, I believe.
Cycling 3.
So, same thing as the channel lanes. You can cycle them and then play them from your graveyard if you got Crucible of Worlds. And then, of course, add some basics. You always want to have targets if somebody uses Assassin's Trophy or Path to Exile, whatever, on you. Make sure that you can actually get a basic. I think I've heard a story from you where you path somebody's creature and they said, failed to find. I'm not even going to search because I don't have any. That's weird.
Real fun.
I don't recommend that. At least 1 or 2 of each of your colors, probably. More if you're in 2 colors, because I doubt you're going to fill out all your dual land slots. Exotic Orchard's great. I mentioned City of Brass already. Reflecting Pool is not a bad option. If you're playing any sort of tribal deck, I didn't write this one down in the notes, guys, but 3 Tree City, brand new card, fantastic. Talon Gates of Madara is amazing. Yeah. Doesn't make colors, I don't think. Does that card make colors? I think it does. It does if you pay an extra mana. Mm-hmm. Talon Gates of Madara is great. Horizon of Progress, also great. Levi, we got to pause.
Okay.
Now let's talk about our ramp.
Ramp!
So, most times you're going to play one copy of Soul Ring. I play it on all my decks. I think most people do. Unfortunately, I kind of wish it was banned. But play Soul Ring if you want. I don't care.
I'm going to play it until it's banned.
If you're not playing green and you want to play artifacts, I recommend playing Arcane Signet. And then whatever signets are in your colors, Boros Signet, Azoria Signet, maybe not Gruul Signet because it's green.
If you're feeling frisky.
Yeah. Play the Talismans. I like them better than the Signets, except for Arcane Signet, because most times you can use them the turn they come in without like additional mana being put into it, because you can't use that like Boros Signet on turn 2 typically. Yeah. Medallions are cool. Jet Medallion, Ruby Medallion, Sapphire Medallion if you need to make things cost 1 less. Mind Stone, Thought Vessel, the Iron Crag. Whatever you need to do to add the 2 mana rocks. I don't like 3 mana rocks. You don't like 3 mana rocks. They don't exist.
Yeah, they don't.
Unless you're playing budget, then bless you. Then I understand. If you're playing green, you want to play Rampant Growth, 3 Visits, Nature's Lore. If you're playing Snowlands, you could play Into the North. Things that get lands at 2 mana. I also like Lotus Cobra for landfall strategies whenever you're going to be playing more than 1 land a turn. These days, I also really like 2 mana dorks that have some sort of upside. Not just 2 mana to make a mana, but like Fanatic of Ronos is new from Modern Horizons 3. Taps for green, but it also taps for green if you have a creature with 4 or more mana, so if you're 4 or more power. So if your commander has 4 power, I recommend playing it. Bloom Tender if you have a multicolor commander. Armored Scrapgorger is cool because it's also Graveyard Hate, Orochi Merge Keeper, if you're going to have your creatures be modified, whether that's +1 counters, equipment, or auras. Sanctum Reaver if you're running an enchantment strategy. Tender Wild Guide if you're running a token strategy. I didn't type the whole name of this one in, but I think it's called Trailblazer Scout. It's the raccoon. It's kind of cool. It has a little bit of recursion built in. If you're running a 3-mana commander, or just in general, these are fine options, but especially in a 3-mana commander, you can run cards like Birds of Paradise, Llanowar Elves, Wild Growth. What was the one I mentioned earlier? The Bant one? Noble Hierarch.
Noble Hierarch. I always want to call it Ignoble.
Well, Noble Hierarch. Too, if you're playing Jund.
Oh, yeah.
The Bant one, the Jund one. Yeah. I want to run like 10 to 12 of the ramp cards. Like, you want ramp so you can play more mana than you would have otherwise. Where you going, dude? Now, I want to move on to card draw. I used to say 10 was enough. It's not.
Past 15. Howie would.
15. 12 to 15, I would say. If you are playing more card draw, then you are guaranteeing more land drops every turn. You are seeing more card draw, so you can keep digging through your deck. You're seeing more of your whole deck in general. I don't have examples for you guys, but like, just do 15. It will make your decks run way smoother. Trust me. It might not be the most extravagant thing when you're building the deck and you're dedicating 15% of it to card draw, but it's super important. Super important.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
A Spellslinger strategy kind of lends itself really well to that because the card draw is kind of already built into the game plan at that point. You're just getting rewards for playing the game.
That's right. Now, the next part is our removal / I put them together, removal and protection. If you're running counter spells, I would run like 5 if you're in blue, right? Or, I mean, there's non-blue counter spells too if you can. Like, I almost said Teferi's Protection. What's it called? Tybalt's Trickery.
Yeah.
In red. But, like, I'll run protection like Deflecting Swat as well. 5 counter spells like Swan Song, Strict Serenade, an Offer You Can't Refuse. Any counter spell, even counter spell itself. It's a great card. Protection, though, is super important these days. People are playing board wipes. People are playing more interaction, which means slurring, dude. Which means that you want to play cards like Heroic Intervention or Tamio's Safekeeping or Teferi's Protection or Perch Protection, brand new card from Bloomburrow. This is the Bloomburrow edition, guys.
Yeah, Perch Protection is cool. It's just an interesting card.
Yeah, Clever Concealment's great. And then just removal in general is also great. I like flexible ones, even though they are more mana. Cards like Generous Gift, Beast Within, or Chaos Warp hit any permanent. And that's priceless these days because you never know what kind of things you're going to have to remove. And it doesn't feel great always when you draw like Wear and Tear, but you need to get rid of a creature. I would recommend hitting like 7 protection spells if you can and 10 removal spells if you can. Like, or maybe a combination that ends up at 10, like 5 protection, 5 removal.
Yeah, you just need to be able to. You need to be able to interact with everybody else's boards. It's just too important.
Yes. Now, as far as board wipes go, I would only run 1 or 2 in my decks, honestly. And if you can, absolutely if you can, you want them to be one-sided. So, like, if you're playing like a Play from Exile strategy, you probably want to run Delayed Blast Fireball. If you're running blue, in general, you want to play Cyclonic Rift. It's just one of the best cards ever made for Commander.
Yeah.
I don't need to talk about board wipes too much. Run a couple, but not too much. I've seen deck building templates that recommend 5+. That's icky. I want my games to end, you know what I mean? The last thing I want to talk about really is like 30 to 33-ish cards at least dedicated to your core plan. Now, you can have overlap in all of these categories, including the core plan. So, like, if you're running, I don't know, Calamax, which is, its core plan is playing instants, some of those instants can also be dedicated, not dedicated, but have a crossover with your removal or your protection or your board wipe. They all work together, even your ramp. That's really it. That's all I have. Like, that's the whole template, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great input.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of boils down to when you build a deck, it kind of trivializes it a little bit, and really makes you only have to worry about 30 cards rather than the whole 100.
I mean, you still should worry about the whole 100 when you start tweaking and stuff, because you can have almost every card in your deck synergized in some strategies. It just is not feasible in every strategy. But
Playtest.
Right? So if you're playing a token deck, you probably want at least 30 to 33 cards that make tokens. If you're playing +1/+1 counter deck, you want at least 30 cards to make or put +1/+1 counters on things. Even if your commander does it, you will not always have your commander. Even with these protection pieces, you will not always draw them. So you just want to hit all these categories to make sure that you can have a great deck that runs well, like a well-oiled machine.
Real quick, I just want to give a quick shout out to our patrons, King Dom and Richard Dilkes. Check out the Patreon in the link below and the YouTube. Yeah. And subscribe to us if you're already on YouTube. So you might as well
like and comment. Tell us what we missed in our deck building template. Spent a lot of time talking about the mana base, but that's the cornerstone of your deck. So
everybody,
don't tell us we talked about it too long.
Builds them differently. It's just nice to have a strategy, because once you build one, you're going to be building more, and you want to make it a little easier on yourself. So.
And this is not the be-all, end-all. It is a guide. Lastly, that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Part 7.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye. Bye.